Well, first of all, thank you so much for letting me share my personal story. I have not shared that story with too many people. I mean, I've done a few documentaries like the one that you've seen, but certainly with a big crowd like today, I've done it with high school students quite a few times, but not with grown-ups. So that's going to be interesting. So I guess the important part, I think, is to remember who I was before and who I am now. And the before Sophie, like he introduced me in the video, was really, I was a career really oriented person. I was 31 years old, and my employer at the time in Brazil was planning for me the following year to take care of the office in Mexico. I mean, Mexico, the country. I was 31 years old. I spoke, and I do speak still 4 languages and all of that, and I was just like, international business, I'm on the fast track. Probably very rarely was talking to my family, who was based in Canada, and also my boyfriend's family in the United States. And really my life was equaling working, and then socializing, but socializing with work. It all had to be, boiled down to business. So really when I think about this journey, I'm just like, gosh, thank God this happened to me, because I would have never figured it out. Was very successful professionally, but I was miserable. I mean, if you can picture that, I don't know if anybody has insomnia, but back then I can remember a straight 4 months of working hard, being the top 1 salesperson in my company, heading for Mexico the following year and heading the business there. But I could barely sleep 2 hours a night for 4 months straight. Then I said, let's go on a vacation, let's go relax. It's going to solve all of our issues, all of our problems. It's all going to be fine. I'm going to come recharged. And, well, sure enough, it did resolve quite a few things, actually. So, and then boom, October 12, 2002, a year, a month, and a day after September 11th. I want to show you a little bit of some souvenirs that I brought with me. When we're talking about burn survivors, this is the dress that I was wearing. I'm not sure where the top or the bottom is anymore, but I kept it for good sakes. And, I remember, and it kind of smells like, I never washed it, so it kind of smells interesting. And these are the pressure garments that a burn survivor is usually asked to wear. And I wore those things for 2 years. Sure enough, that was funny because I was the only one, actually. Everybody had those kind of like beige, boring. I had blue, pink, red, all sorts of colors, and I could, really being really colorful. So you wear that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was wearing this for 2 years. And then you have also the face gears if you're actually burning your face that you also have to wear. So I had to wear at night something to actually correct my burns that I had on my neck, and so it was really interesting. I had gloves and on both hands. In the summer, going rollerblading, that was a really interesting outfit. And what I went through was surgeries after surgeries. I can remember probably more than 15 surgeries that I had. It was mostly consisting of taking peeling skin from my thighs, which was not injured, and my waist, and sticking it back to where I was burned everywhere on my body. Grafts after grafts. I was pinned to a hospital bed for 35 days when I was finally airlifted to Singapore. And an additional challenge was also that my insurance declined for my treatment. So financially, it was very interesting as well. So this is really, the journey that I had in terms of a burn survivor. And really, I don't qualify myself as a victim. Definitely not. I'm a survivor. I compare that to a marathon. Any runners in the room? Oh, come on. I'm not the only one who runs. I'm not necessarily marathon, but even just 5Ks, like the Race for the Cure, for instance. Just a hand, September 11th. Well, I compare this to a marathon. I was like on a fast pace. I was passing everyone. And, I was like heading for first place. But I was short of breath. I was not trained to do this marathon. And then suddenly, but I was heading for first place. I was like, no matter what, I'm going. And then someone tripped me. And I didn't like it. And I fell, and I got hurt, and I got really hurt. So this is really how I compare it to. It's really you're heading for something that you think was the focus for your whole life, and in a matter of seconds, it just turns around totally. A few anecdotes. Talking about a workaholic. My dad was in Canada when he heard about the news, and when he met me, the first time that we actually met was at the hospital when I was in Singapore, and I was waking up for my very first major surgery, and he came to my hospital bed where I was laying, and that's what he tells me, because I was totally drugged up. I can't even remember what I said. He says, "Sophie, can you believe that the first words you told me was, 'Dad, get me out of here. I have to go back to work.'" And I'm just like, unbelievable. And he also told me that he wanted to hug me and kiss me, and he couldn't kiss me or hug me anywhere. The only place that he could find that was not bundled in a bandage or was not injured was actually my left foot. This is where he kissed me when he got to the hospital. So that's kind of a cute story. The two next ones are a little bit more dramatic. Remember when the war in Iraq started in 2003? I remember it was probably a Tuesday night because I was watching American Idol, and suddenly they interrupted my show. And they started showing all those bombings and, the U.S. is invading Iraq and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, flipping channels, like, this is not what I want to watch. I've seen enough of that type of thing in my life, And that was shortly, a few months after the accident that I had survived. And although I was on a high dose of all sorts of drugs, including antidepressant, to regulate my post-traumatic stress disorder, I started having a panic attack. And if you can picture this, in my apartment, at the end of a hallway of a 17th-floor condo complex, my parents were at the other end of the corridor in their own apartment, and I was renting the unit at the other end of the corridor. Well, I started seeing soldiers in my apartment with guns, and then I pictured myself being in another country, in the sand, like it looked like it was in a desert somewhere, and I saw people like trying to kill me and chase me. I was running in my apartment, and my boyfriend at the time was just like, "Sophie, calm down, calm down." It's like, he wants to kill me, I was seeing people. And then I went down the hall at my parents', and it took my parents a good 2 hours to calm me down, 2 hours of that yelling. Imagine the parents, imagine the boyfriend. What do? It's 10 o'clock or whatever the time it was at night, and you can't figure out what your daughter and your girlfriend is going through. Well, I called my psychiatrist the next day, and he doubled my dose of Prozac, that's for sure.